"It's always been me, the friend, never the chosen one," she said, holding her cup like a shield, eyes lost somewhere beyond the balcony railing. It could have been a joke, the way she said it, casual, like a throwaway line, but her voice cracked just slightly at the end, enough for me to catch the truth hiding underneath. I looked at her, really looked, and said the first thing that came to me. "Today, you're my choice." She didn't answer right away. Her lips pressed together in that way people do when they're trying not to let anything out, not a laugh, not a sob, not belief. It wasn't a romantic evening. The gathering had been quiet, the kind that happens when friends outgrow noise but still cling to each other like life rafts. I hadn't planned on staying long, but Lily was there, and when she excused herself to the balcony, I followed without knowing why. We hadn't been particularly close. We shared friends, not secrets. But I had always noticed her, not in the loud way some men do, not with hunger or conquest, but with a quiet recognition, like spotting a familiar book on someone's shelf. Now she was beside me, still holding that cup, still not speaking. "I didn't say that to make you uncomfortable," I added softly. "I know." Her voice was almost a whisper. "That's what makes it worse." We stood in silence. Not the heavy kind, more like an uncertain peace. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, as if she might retreat back inside. "I meant it," I said, not looking at her this time. "Just so you know." Another pause. Then, "You don't even know me." "I think I know enough to make that choice." That made her laugh, short and bitter. "You know I'm the one everyone likes to laugh with, but never to stay with. The safe one. The one they tell secrets to before going home to someone else." I didn't argue. I just listened. I've been the best friend, the funny one, the loyal one. But never... The reason... She looked at me now. Really looked. "You don't have to say things like that, Alexander. I'm used to being background noise." I wanted to reach for her hand, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned on the railing beside her. "You're not background noise." "Not to me." She studied me, suspicious of kindness. "You're just saying that because I looked sad." "No," I said. "I'm saying it because I've looked at you before, even when you weren't sad." She didn't smile, but she didn't walk away either. "You're calm," she said after a moment. "Too calm, like nothing ever shakes you." "Plenty shakes me. I've just learned not to run from it." "That sounds nice." Her voice trembled again, but she steadied it. "I don't know how to believe people anymore. Not really." "You don't have to believe me tonight," I said, "but I'll still be here tomorrow." She turned her eyes back to the street below. Lights flickered on in windows. Laughter echoed from the living room behind us. But out there, on that balcony, something shifted. Something old cracked open, just a little. "I should go," she said. "You can," I replied. "Or you can stay a little longer." She didn't answer, but she didn't move. And I knew in that quiet pause that something had begun. The next morning, her message came early, before I'd even finished my coffee. "About last night. Sorry if I was weird." I stared at the words for a moment, not because they surprised me, but because they didn't. That kind of apology didn't come from guilt. It came from fear. Fear of being too visible, of occupying too much space, of being remembered for the wrong reasons. I typed slowly, carefully. "You weren't weird. You were honest." She didn't reply right away. I left the phone on the counter and let it sit there while the day moved on. I had work to do, errands to run, but her silence hummed like background static. When her answer came, it was short. "Still feels like I said too much." I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "You said exactly enough." After that, the words came easier. Not fast, but steady, a kind of unfolding. We talked about music, the kind that filled quiet rooms without demanding attention. She told me about the time she dyed her hair blue in college and how her mother refused to speak to her for a week. I told her about the summer I tried to build a canoe in my garage and gave up halfway through, leaving it there like a monument to unfinished things. "Why'd you stop?" she asked. "Didn't think anyone would want to paddle with me." There was a pause. "Then, I would have." We kept messaging through the afternoon. No pressure, no declarations, just space shared in words. She didn't flirt. I didn't chase. It wasn't a performance. It felt like air after being underwater for too long. Later, she asked, Do you ever feel like people expect you to be fine all the time? I answered without thinking. Yes, but I've stopped trying to meet expectations that don't feed me. She didn't reply for a long while. When she did, it was just, that must feel good. I didn't ask what she meant. She offered it anyway, hours later. I feel like I've been living on crumbs, emotional crumbs, a text here, a compliment there. Just enough not to give up, but never enough to feel full. I read it twice and then again. She hadn't said it to be dramatic. She said it the way someone admits they're tired after walking too long without rest. You deserve more than crumbs, Lily. Her answer was slow. Yeah, I'm just not sure I know what more looks like. That night, I thought about her longer than I meant to, not because I was trying to solve her or rescue her, but because something about her honesty felt like a mirror. Not broken, just smudged by years of other people's fingerprints. She didn't message again that night, neither did I. Sometimes, silence is the bravest part of a conversation. She suggested the walk. That surprised me. I need to get out of my head, she'd written. Want to come with me? It was a Saturday, just warm enough to leave jackets behind. We met near the old bookstore that used to sell second-hand novels and coffee in paper cups. The shop was gone now, replaced by a boutique that smelled like expensive soap, but the street still held echoes, things you could almost hear if you listened with the right part of yourself. We started walking with no real destination, just movement. I asked her how her week had been. She gave the standard answers, then shrugged. I feel like I'm living on autopilot. I do what I'm supposed to do, but it's like I'm watching someone else live my life. There wasn't anything performative in her words. She said them flatly, like fact. I didn't rush to comfort her. I've learned that sometimes the most generous thing you can do is let someone finish their sentence without interruption. I thought I'd be further along by now, she added. In everything, career, relationships, self-respect. I keep thinking maybe I missed a turn somewhere. You didn't miss anything, I said. Life's not a map. It's a long walk, sometimes flat, sometimes uphill. You're still moving. She looked at me with this quiet skepticism, like she wanted to believe me but had been burned too many times before. You talk like someone who's figured it all out. I haven't, I said, but I've stopped punishing myself for not knowing everything yet. We passed the park where we used to meet friends in college. The swings were still there, though rustier now. She pointed to the bench we once sat on after a group project and said, That night, I remember thinking you were so serious, like you felt things deeply but didn't let it show. Maybe I just didn't know how to show it back then. She nodded slowly. I always wondered if I was just invisible to you. I stopped walking. She did too. You were never invisible to me. She held my gaze for a moment, then looked away. You say that now, but you never said it then. I didn't know how to choose what mattered. Not back then, but I do now. The silence after that wasn't awkward. It was necessary. As we kept walking, the conversation drifted. Childhood stories, strange neighbors, the worst jobs we'd ever had. We laughed more than I expected. She told me about a boy who once said she had a nice face for a big girl. Her voice cracked when she mocked him, but her eyes didn't. That kind of thing sticks to you, she said. Even if you laugh it off. It's like carrying extra weight people can't see. I didn't say she was beautiful. That would have felt like trying too hard, like reaching for a line that didn't belong yet. Instead, I said, You deserve to be seen without qualifiers. She didn't answer, but she didn't change the subject either. As the sun began to fall, we found ourselves near the old bridge on the edge of town. She paused there, looking out over the water. Thanks for walking with me, she said. I'd walk with you anywhere, I replied. She didn't look at me, but I saw her shoulders ease, just slightly, like the weight was still there, but she didn't have to carry all of it alone anymore. She called it a casual invitation. Just a quick coffee. My brothers will be there. You don't have to stay long. I said yes, before thinking too much. Not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because something in her tone told me it mattered. Not the coffee, not even the family. The fact that she had asked. The cafe was crowded. Her brothers were already seated. Two men with the kind of presence that filled the room before they spoke. One was loud and charming, the other quiet and observant, the kind who watched with arms folded and eyes sharp. Lily introduced me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. This is Alexander, a friend. The louder brother, Mark, grinned and shook my hand. The quieter one, Joel, nodded once. I could feel the measuring begin, subtle but present. The conversation started light. Football, weather, bad traffic. Lily stayed mostly silent, sipping her coffee too quickly. Her shoulders were drawn in, like she was bracing for something. At one point, Joel asked, "So how do you two know each other?" "Through mutual friends," I said. "How we've been reconnecting lately." "Reconnecting," he echoed. "Interesting choice of word." Lily looked down. Mark chuckled. Lily always had a soft spot for strays. The comment landed like a joke, but something about it didn't sit right. I kept my voice even. "She's not collecting anyone. We've just been spending time together." There was a pause, a long one. Later, when Lily excused herself to take a call, Joel leaned in slightly. "She's been through a lot. Just don't give her reasons to doubt herself again." "I won't," I said simply. He nodded. That was it. No threats, no posturing. Just a quiet warning from someone who'd watched her weather too many storms. When she came back, she was quieter. On the walk back to her car, she kept her arms crossed, hands tucked into her sleeves. "They mean well," she said. "I know. They've seen me hurt. I think they believe I attract the kind of people who leave. Then maybe it's time they saw something different." She stopped walking. "You don't owe me anything, Alexander. Just because I let you in a little. I'm not asking for promises. I'm not offering promises. I'm offering presence." She blinked at that, like the word confused her. "What does that even mean?" "It means I'll be where I say I'll be, and if I can't be, I'll tell you why. No guessing. No games." She nodded slowly, unsure whether to trust it, but she didn't argue. That night, she texted me, just one line. "Thank you for not needing me to be impressive." I stared at the screen, then typed back, "You don't need to impress anyone. You're already real. That's enough for me." She didn't reply, but the silence felt different this time. Not distant, just full. She called me one evening, voice quiet, almost uncertain. I could hear wind in the background, the faint hum of a city trying to wind down. "So," she said, "this guy from my past messaged me." I didn't respond right away. I waited. He asked if I wanted to catch up. Said he's in town for a few days, just coffee. "Do you want to see him?" I asked. She let out a breath, more like a sigh of confusion than relief. "I don't know. I used to like him. He was kind to me when others weren't. But it never went anywhere. Why didn't it? I think he liked the idea of me more than the reality. He flirted when no one was looking, complimented me in whispers, never once introduced me to his friends." Her voice caught for a second, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to keep going. "I used to think maybe that was the best I'd get, someone who half chose me." "Is that what you still think?" I asked. "I don't know what I think anymore." There was a long pause between us, not the heavy kind, but the kind that holds space for honesty. I kept my voice calm. "Lily, you don't owe anyone your time just because they remember you when it's convenient." She was silent. "You have the right to choose who gets access to you, not just who shows up." "That's easy for you to say. You're used to being the one people choose." I didn't argue. I let her words hang for a moment. "I've made bad choices too," I said. "I've chosen comfort over connection, familiarity over truth, but I stopped when I realized I was just keeping myself small to fit other people's expectations." "I'm tired of being small," she whispered. "Then don't go. What if he really has changed? Then let him show that change without needing your attention as proof." She didn't reply, but I could feel her thinking. Later that night, I got a message. I told him no. It felt strange, but also like a step towards something I can't name yet. Sometimes the first real choice is the one that doesn't feel thrilling. "Just honest," I replied. "Are you always this steady?" she asked. "No," I typed, "but with you, I want to be." She didn't respond right away. When she finally did, it was just one word. "Thank you." It held more weight than anything else she'd said all week. Oh, thank you not for advice or for protection, but for letting her choose without pushing, without guilt. For the first time, it felt like she was walking toward me, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to. It started with a sudden downpour, one of those unpredictable rains that catch the whole city off guard. I was already outside when the sky turned. She had just finished a shift at a temporary gig she wasn't sure she even liked. I offered to meet her halfway. No umbrella, just habit. She stood under the awning of a bus stop, arms wrapped tightly around herself, hair already damp at the edges. I saw her before she saw me, and there was something about the way she stood. Not fragile, just bracing. "I didn't think you'd come," she said as I approached. "I said I would." She glanced up, half smiling. "Most people say things like that. I'm not most people." I pulled a small foldable umbrella from my bag, barely enough to cover one of us properly. She laughed when she saw it. "That's your grand gesture? A travel-sized umbrella?" I held it open between us. "It's not the size, it's the timing." We stood close, shoulders touching out of necessity. Rain pattered steadily around us, muting the world. The streetlights flickered on early, as if the city itself was unsure how to behave. "I used to love rain," she said, "when I was little. It meant I could stay inside without feeling guilty. Everyone was forced to slow down. And now it just reminds me of all the things I should be doing." "You're allowed to pause." She didn't respond, just shifted slightly closer, her arm brushing mine. It wasn't flirtation. It was gravity. After a few quiet minutes, she said, "You're calm in a way that makes me nervous." "Why?" "Because I keep waiting for it to break, for you to pull away or disappear, or realize I'm too complicated. I'm not afraid of complicated." "You should be." Her voice was soft but not joking. "I carry things I don't know how to put down." "Then let me walk with you a while. You don't have to carry them alone." She looked up at me then, really looked. Not searching for an escape or an answer, just seeing. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because being near you feels like clarity, and because I don't want to miss whatever this is." A bus passed, sending mist into the air. She didn't flinch. She stayed close. "I'm not used to this," she murmured. "Someone showing up without asking for something in return. I'm not here to take. I'm here to know you." For a while, neither of us spoke. The city kept moving, but slower now, like the rain had softened its edges. When she finally spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. "If I let you stay, don't promise not to leave. Just promise you won't lie about it if you do." I nodded. "I'll never lie to you." She leaned her head lightly against my shoulder. The umbrella tilted, letting a few drops hit us. We didn't move to fix it. The rain kept falling. We just stood there. Two people under too small an umbrella, finding enough space anyway. She invited me over one evening, not with words, but with a message that read simply, "If you're not busy, I could use a quiet presence." When I arrived, she was barefoot, wearing an old sweatshirt that didn't match her usual care in appearances. Her hair was tied up in a loose knot, and she looked tired in a way that went beyond sleep. We sat on the couch without turning the TV on. The room was dim, lit only by the lamp beside us. She curled her legs under her body and held a pillow close to her chest, like a shield. "I've been remembering things lately," she said. "Not memories exactly, more like the emotions left behind." I waited. "There was a boy once. I was 16. He was kind at first, said things I hadn't heard before, told me I had a beautiful laugh, that I made him feel calm. And then one day, he told his friends I was obsessed with him." She swallowed hard. "They laughed. I laughed too. Pretended it didn't matter. But it did. It was the first time I realized kindness could be used like bait." I didn't move closer. I didn't offer pity. I let the weight of her words land. I spent so long thinking I was the joke, that maybe I was too much, too eager, too soft, so I started shrinking, making myself easy to overlook, easier to keep. She looked at me then. "Have you ever done that, made yourself smaller for someone?" "Yes," I said, "not in the same way, but yes. I know what it's like to fold yourself up so someone else doesn't feel uncomfortable with your presence." She nodded slowly. "I think I stopped believing I could be wanted without condition." "You can, even like this. Especially like this." She didn't answer. She looked down at her hands, then unclenched them. "What about you?" she asked. "What's something you've never said out loud?" I paused, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I wasn't sure if the moment could hold it. I once stayed in a relationship for 2 years longer than I should have, I said. Not because I was in love, but because I thought being needed was close enough. She didn't look surprised, just sad. That's a lonely kind of loyalty. It was. We sat in the quiet again, the kind that doesn't ask to be filled. Then she said, I don't want to be someone's lesson. I don't want to be the girl that teaches someone how to love better for the next person. You're not. I don't know how to trust that. You don't have to trust it tonight. Just let it sit with you. She leaned her head back against the couch and closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. She wasn't asleep, just letting herself rest in the presence of someone who didn't require anything from her. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to fix anything. I just had to stay. I asked her to lunch. No pretext, no clever phrasing. Just, if you're free Sunday, I'd like to have lunch with you, just us. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her message was short. Okay. That sounds nice. I chose a place that wasn't loud, not trendy or performative, just a quiet corner spot that served good food and remembered your name if you came back enough. I arrived early, not out of nervousness, but because I wanted to be ready. When she walked in, her expression was cautious, not hesitant, just measured, like she was bracing herself against some unnamed expectation. I almost didn't come, she said, as she sat across from me. I know, I said. But you're here, she nodded. I kept thinking it would mean something, that if I said yes, it would shift something between us. It doesn't have to mean more than lunch, unless you want it to. That made her smile. Not a wide one, but the kind that happens when something tight in the chest loosens. The conversation moved slowly, like a stream finding its path. We talked about books, the ones she used to love but hadn't touched in years. She told me how she used to read in closets as a kid because it felt safe, the walls close around her, the light barely enough. I think I trained myself early to take up as little space as possible, she said, even when I was alone. You don't have to do that anymore. I still don't know how to stop. You don't have to stop all at once, just shift. Inch by inch. I remembered what she liked, the way she took her coffee, the soft spot she had for fresh bread, the music that made her close her eyes when she thought no one was watching. So I ordered without asking. Small things, nothing grand. Her favorite drink, a slice of cake she once mentioned in passing. When the waiter placed it on the table, she stared at it for a long moment. You remembered, she said. Of course I did. No one ever remembers. I do. She didn't cry, but her eyes softened, like something internal was beginning to thaw. After we ate, we didn't rush to leave. The world outside moved, but we stayed in that quiet, suspended space where time feels less demanding. She looked out the window and said, This feels like a version of my life I didn't think I'd get. Something quiet. Safe? Maybe this is the version that's always been waiting for you. She looked at me then, long and steady. I don't want to ruin this, she said. I don't know how to exist in something that isn't built on conditions. You don't have to be perfect here. Just present. She reached across the table, fingertips brushing mine. Not a declaration, just contact. I didn't close the space. I let it stay, just like that. Small, deliberate, enough. She came over late, not unannounced but uncertain. Her message had said, Can I come by? I don't want to be alone with my thoughts tonight. I opened the door without asking questions. She stepped in, holding her coat tighter than necessary, as if still deciding whether or not to stay. I didn't press her. I just led her to the couch and handed her a cup of tea I had already made. We didn't speak for a while. The quiet stretched between us like a familiar road. Then she said it, out of nowhere. I don't want to get used to this. I looked at her. To what? To you being kind. Her voice was steady, but her fingers trembled around the cup. To this feeling of being seen and not judged, of not having to earn every bit of affection. I didn't respond right away. Some truths don't need to be answered. They need to be heard. I keep waiting for the moment it shifts, she said. When you start pulling back. When the silence becomes distance. When you realize I'm more weight than worth. I set my own cup down. You're not a burden, Lily. You're a person. She shook her head. You say that now. But most people don't leave all at once. They fade. They grow quiet. They stop choosing you in small ways until the big choice doesn't feel like a choice at all. I moved a little closer, careful not to crowd her. Then let me say it clearly, without room for fading. I met her eyes. You are my choice. She looked at me like she wanted to believe it and didn't know how. I'm not used to being chosen, she said. Not in a way that feels steady. Not in a way that lasts. I'm not promising forever. I'm promising right now. And right now, you are not alone. She looked down at her lap. What if I don't know how to be this version of myself? The one who is allowed to take up space, to be wanted without apology. Then I'll stay here beside you while you figure it out. She didn't cry. She didn't collapse into my arms or ask for more. She just sat there, breathing slower, holding that truth like something fragile. A few minutes passed. Then she said, quietly, "You make it feel possible. To stop hiding. To stop apologizing for taking up air." "You never had to apologize," I said. She nodded. Not as agreement, but as acknowledgement. That night she didn't stay over. She didn't linger with expectation or ask for comfort beyond what had already been given. When she stood to leave, I walked her to the door. Just before stepping out, she turned and looked at me for a long time. "I don't know where this is going," she said, "but something about tonight. It changed something in me. It changed something in me too." She didn't ask what. She didn't need to. Some moments don't need defining, they just need to be lived. The first time we held hands in public, it wasn't a grand moment. No declarations, no slow-motion glances. We were walking through the Sunday market, weaving between booths filled with homemade candles and second-hand books. She reached out naturally, almost absently, and I didn't hesitate. Our fingers just found each other, and neither of us let go. It wasn't about romance, not entirely. It was about belonging, the quiet claim of presence and of saying I'm here with you without speaking it aloud. She noticed someone staring, a woman she recognized from somewhere, maybe an old classmate or a neighbor. Lily's hand tensed, just a little, like she expected to be judged for the closeness, for being seen. I squeezed her hand gently. She didn't pull away. We bought coffee from a cart run by an older man with silver hair and a soft voice. Lily added too much sugar, the way she always did, and made a face after the first sip. I watched her laugh at herself, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't check to see if I was watching. She just existed. We sat on a bench with our coffees. Around us, people moved, loud, hurried, distracted. But we stayed still. She leaned her shoulder into mine. "I keep waiting to feel like I don't belong here. Like someone's going to come tap me on the shoulder and say, 'Sorry, you're not meant for this part of the story. You're not a side character, Lily.' I've spent years convincing myself I was, that I should be grateful for any screen time I got." I turned slightly, enough for her to see I wasn't joking. "You are not a placeholder." She blinked, once, slowly, then looked away, nodding to herself. "I think I'm finally starting to believe that." A silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was full of everything we didn't need to say. "I don't know what we're becoming," she said after a while, "but I know I don't want to go back to how things were before." "Then don't," I said. "We're not going backward. We're not even standing still. I keep thinking there has to be a catch. That kindness always has a price. There's no catch, just choice. And I'm still choosing you." She rested her head on my shoulder, not out of weakness but trust, a quiet surrender to something she no longer needed to brace against. The wind picked up slightly, scattering leaves across the pavement. "I don't need a label," she said. "Not yet. I just need to know I'm not imagining this." "You're not." She didn't ask for more, and I didn't offer promises wrapped in poetry, just presence. That day, we didn't kiss. We didn't define anything. But as we sat there, two people in a world that didn't pause for anyone, I felt it. The beginning of something big, not in volume, but in depth, something steady, something real.